And I'm going to start the webinar here. Yes, we're just going to be a few moments. The mayor's having internet issues, so she's going to be calling in by phone. What time is it? We can also have you start the meeting, Nikki, as the deputy mayor. I have the motions. I have copies of all the motions here, so.
Okay, go ahead.
Sure, you might as well go ahead and at least call the meeting order.
Okay, it's 4:03 and we'll call the meeting to order. First up is approval of the agenda that count. If you want to read the motion in front, Kathy, please.
Okay, perfect. So moved by Tom Dewey and second by Bill McDonald. That council approved the agenda for the November 9th, 2021 regular council meeting as presented. I do have an amendment to that. It's an addition under number 16 under closed session. We have a personal matter about an identifiable individual being added on to the other closed session item.
Okay, all those in favor of the approval of the agenda?
Sorry, Madam Chair, it should be as amended then.
Oh, I'm
Yes.
sorry, thank you.
Yeah, I'm in
All those in
favor.
favor of the amended agenda, please. Carried. Disclosure of pecuniary interest in general nature thereof. Is there anyone that has any disclosure? Seeing none. Approval of the minutes. Kathy, could you please read the motion?
Okay, moved by Brent Cameron and second by Sherry Wan. That the minutes of the regular council meeting held October 26, 2021 be approved as presented.
I am here now.
Oh, wonderful. Carry on, Madam Mayor.
Okay. Now, somebody will need to be my eyes. All those in favor of the motion as read.
Everybody's hands are up, Fran. You got approval.
Okay, motion's carried. Sorry about that, folks, but good old technology problem. Okay, that's the agenda. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof by any item on tonight's agenda by any member of council? If so,
Madam
please,
Mayor, we've already done
yes.
that. We've already done the approval of the agenda and approval of the minutes. So you're at Mayor's remarks.
Okay, I just have a few short remarks. One is the Festival of Trees isn't going to be going as usual, but they are going to be doing the luminary lightings on December the 18th. I believe it's around 5 or 5:30. We'll get more information on that as we get closer. The Lions Club had an anniversary of 70 years, and the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 425 had an anniversary of 75 years. So two very strong associations and organizations that do a lot for our communities have been around for a long time, and we presented plaques or certificates to both of those. Thursday is Remembrance Day, and there will be laying of the wreaths in front of the hall at 11 o'clock on Thursday. Nikki, I would ask if you could take my place on laying the wreath on behalf of the township. I have thrown my back out, so I need to sort of stay close to my couch for a few days. Are you going to be able to do that for me, Nikki?
Yes, I can get that done for you.
Excellent. And I'll let June Crawford know that you'll be there on behalf of the township.
Okay.
And that's about it for me. Does anyone else have anything to add?
Victor does,
Madam
Mayor.
Okay. Yeah, just perhaps we could remind our gallery, as we have quite a few members who are listening in, that there's going to be the open house, or not a public meeting
Yes.
next Tuesday evening regarding the reduction of council.
Yes, on the 16th at 6 o'clock. Thank you, Victor, for that reminder. Does anyone else have anything to add? Okay, if not, there's no deferred
Oh.
items.
Sherry Wan has something, Madam Mayor.
Okay, Sherry, go ahead. Okay, Sherry, go ahead.
Sorry, I just wanted to add that the OSO Rec Committee will be doing a Christmas light judging, a daytime and an evening judge, and the Rec Committee members will be posting an ad in the paper for details on that, and I hope that we have as good of a turnout as we did last year.
When will that be, Sherry?
I think the week before Christmas is going to be when the judging takes place, and there will be an ad in the newspaper as well. They will have a Facebook with details regarding the contest, and we did have quite a few last year, so it was a good turnout. So hopefully we can do that, and the Rec Committee will be driving around and viewing the entries. So
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Okay, if there isn't anything else, we will move to staff reports. And the first one is Development Services. I have a motion moved by Nikki and seconded by Cindy that council received the construction details report, October 2021, for information. Any questions or comments on that report?
Madam Mayor, Bill here.
Go ahead.
Yeah, to Andy. Andy, what would you estimate or compare the value of the new residents versus the seasonal residents? Could you give me an idea of how the two of those would, screen out in regard to actual value?
As like a construction value for a seasonal
Yes.
residence versus year round?
Yes.
It can vary widely. Seasonal residents could simply be stud walls, no insulation, no plumbing, where a year-round home is going to have everything. Sorry, I'm getting some feedback, but yeah, so the cost can vary greatly. I would say more than double for a year-round home compared to a seasonal.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion? Is there anyone saying no?
There's not, Mayor.
Motion's carried. Okay, next is the Oso Hall ramp, moved by Bill McDonald and seconded by Sherry Wan, that council received the Oso Hall accessibility ramp report as prepared by the Manager of Development Services / CBO, dated November the 9th, 2021, for information. Discussion? Okay, Andy, do you have anything to add to the report?
The only thing I'd like to add is that the stage curtains and the window curtains should be arriving later this month.
Okay. Okay, if there aren't any questions or comments, all those in favor of the motion? Is there anyone
All
opposed?
passed. No.
Okay, carried. Kathy, you're my eyes tonight.
I am.
Okay. Next is the Development Services Septic Reinspection. And I have a motion moved by Tom Dewey and seconded by Victor Hayes. Whereas Council passed bylaw 2018-49, amended by bylaw 2020-04, to establish a mandatory sewage reinspection program. And whereas the program ran for 1 year before the COVID-19 pandemic hit, and the program was postponed in 2020 and 2021 as a result. And whereas significant procedural issues were encountered the first year of the program, which have not yet been resolved. Now therefore be it resolved that Council receive the Septic Reinspection Program report as prepared by the Manager of Development Services /CBO, dated November the 9th, 2021 for information. And further that Council agreed to extend the deferral of the program for the 2022 year, as the Township does not have the resources currently in place to manage the program. And further that Septic Implementation Committee meet to discuss the costs and logistics of the program for 2022 and recommend amendments to Schedule B to the bylaw to address the issues identified in this report before reinstating the inspection program. Discussion.
Me, Your Worship, Tom.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I must say that I know we've had our issues this last 2 years, but I'm a little disappointed even with the COVID-19 pandemic that couldn't do some of the back office stuff, that putting together some information, catalog it, put it in so that when we move forward with this inspection program, we've got a lot of this information done so that we can just carry forward with it. I'm not happy, with this report from staff. I would like to see a more proactive approach to what we will need to get this moving in 2022 and bring back what staff feels that the cost will be when we're discussing our 22 budget. I don't see us prolonging this thing completely. Maybe we can't do any field work, but we definitely need to do something in 22. So I really a little bit disappointed. I've mentioned it a few times that we should be doing some of this back office stuff, getting it done, but nothing was done on it. So it basically fell through the cracks, and that's not good. So that's all I got to say. I'd like to see us.
So you won't be supporting this motion?
I'd like staff to, what they think about what we can do to bring this forward. I think this report doesn't have anything positive in it as to what we can do to move this along. What is it going to cost us to do something in 22? I think we need to have some more discussion on this rather than, I think this report, there's got to be something more brought before council rather than just say push it off to 22 or 23. So I can't support this.
Okay. I can also
Madam
tell you
Mayor.
that I have received emails from 2 out of the 3 lake associations, actually 2 out of the 4 or 5 lake associations, that do not want to see this set on the back burner. Bill, did you have something?
Yes, I support the idea. I want to see the program move forward, and the staff have laid out to us here some of the issues that they perhaps see in regard to moving forward with it. But to me, it looks like accumulating the information that requires one of the biggest obstacles. And I was just wondering, given the view of the environment being at the top of the list of everybody's agenda, would it be possible that we could investigate a possible grant to help us move this forward if we need help in the way of more staff time to be able to collect the information that will let us make better decisions and move forward with it? But I'm in favor of moving forward with the program. If we don't have the staff to do it, it might be a little bit of a problem. So let's see if there's resources available. Thank you.
Okay, so just to restate that, maybe hiring someone on a contract to do the back end work that needs to be done over the winter so that it could go forward in the spring? Is that what you're thinking, Bill?
That would be one of the options, but the other thing that I'm thinking is that I'm wondering if there'd be perhaps a grant to help us with that individual. And I see Brent has his hand up also, Madam Mayor.
And so does Nikki as well, Madam Mayor.
Go ahead, Brent, and then Nikki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. With regard to the report, And I'm reading through it. There's two questions I have. Number one, the issue that we had with Mississippi Rideau Septic System Office with regard to the $100 fee and the miscommunication. Going forward, has that been resolved? Because that miscommunication has caused us a great deal of headaches. So that would be my first question. The second one would be whether or not, in terms of trying to move forward, in light of all of the demands in terms of money and other resources, have we talked about maybe just putting a very specific prioritization at our at-capacity lakes? We know that waterfront is the canary in the coal mine with regard to any particular septic issues. We know that, and I think rightfully so, lake associations are duly concerned about water quality. We do have a number of lakes that are at capacity. I'm just wondering if, would it help if we put a more specific immediate focus on those particular lakes? Would that somehow help get us a little bit forward? After all, we only have so much money and so much time and so many resources. So maybe if we effectively put them in place, we might be able to get some more immediate progress. Anyway, I'll leave that up to you, Andy, for an answer.
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Cameron. The communication issue has been, it was dealt with a couple of years ago with Mississippi Rideau. And we have prioritized the at capacity lakes. It's just the mountain of information to go through to do it properly. I really think we need more time. Somebody dedicated specifically for that, or at the very least meet with the implementation committee and come up with a strategy to bring this in properly, because it was kind of rushed the first time it was brought in. It was decided before I started at the municipality. We did our best with what we had available, but I wasn't happy with the way it was rolled out.
Thank you.
Madam
Nikki,
Mayor,
your
Nikki? Yeah.
comment?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I agree with the comments that everybody has made, including Councillor Dewey. His comments were very well spoken, and there are many representation tonight, as Councillor Heath said, of all the lake associations. My suggestion is the lake association, the information I've been given over the past few days since this has been made public, is they already have, some of them already have systems in place and have the data in place. So it could be helpful for us to work with the lake associations to get the data in quicker. They have created a program that works, and irregardless, we need to have this information put into our system. So whether we do it now or do it later, the sooner the better, in my opinion. And we've made large fees on our construction this year and the previous year, and those weren't accounted for in the budget. So maybe that's a place to start looking for money to do a contract for an employee to do the input and get the implementation going and get this program rolling and off to the races like it should have been.
Excellent, yes. Okay.
And Madam Mayor,
Anyone else?
Victor,
Yes.
Madam Mayor, Victor would like to speak.
Okay, go ahead, Victor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I have a question for Andy, and I was just wondering, you have a number, 35 hours, or sorry, 35 weeks. And do you have some sort of a number for that? I'm assuming that most of this work is just data input. So we're not talking about a highly skilled person to do this. So what does the number, the dollar amount sort of add up to?
Through you, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Heath. These are very rough numbers. I would say I underestimated the time involved. I would not say it's exaggerated. And I would estimate the value at approximately $1,000 a week. So you're looking at, you know, $35,000 to $40,000 to get the information that we need to determine, like, at this point, we don't even know how many systems we need to inspect. I didn't include commercial properties. A lot of residential properties have bunkies. They may have a second system. There are systems on vacant lots with trailers on them. There's a mountain of information to go through. I just wanted to make council aware of how much work is going to be involved with this.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Andy. Now, for me though, my thought is that our lakes are what drives our economy here. And if we are going to try to save $35,000 at the expense of our lakes, I think that's a very short-sighted approach. Clean lakes are what bring people here. And what the people that come here come and they spend their money here. So $35,000, that's nothing compared to the possible loss of tourism. So I think we need to just bite the bullet. That's the 35,000 is the upfront cost. That's not yearly. That's the upfront cost. Pay that, get the system going, and let's get our septic systems inspected.
Okay, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
I just want to certainly make sure and let council know that I have had an opportunity to speak to Eric Goldsmith from the Mississippi Rideau Septic Office as to their availability, whether or not they would be wanting to, if they're able to do the program for us in 2022. And he said, yes, they are prepared. And yes, there were some issues, but they have already hired another junior, a junior inspector, a junior person for 9 months. It's a contract, who will also be helping out. With respect to the money, they have systems put into place now that people can pay directly to the Conservation Authority. So in other words, it would take that element out that we would have to necessarily invoice the individuals. They could pay up front to the conservation. So they've got some systems in place. So those folks can pay either by debit, Visa, whatever. So I think the idea of having a meeting with the committee, I think is a great idea, is a great way to go. And let's work out the bugs. But he did say they're certainly at the beginning, but they figured that can be overcome. And I think that the idea that you were speaking about a contract is certainly a contract person probably would work as well.
Your worship.
Okay.
Your
Yes,
worship.
go ahead, Tom.
Thank you. I'd like, could I ask for a deferral on this motion and staff bring back, and we could have in the meantime, we could have a committee meeting of the Septic Reinspection Committee and bring back a recommendation at the first meeting in, say, December as to what's going to cost to get this thing moving along. And then we'll be getting close to our budget discussions, and let's move forward with this, because if we don't do something, I can see us having the same discussion November of 22 that we had, and because it's going to take too many hours, going to take too much money and all that. So I think we should have a meeting. We should defer this motion and bring it back in December with some positive recommendations.
Tom, I think I have a better idea. I have a second motion before me. If you defeat this motion, the other motion that I have is saying exactly what you've just said, is that it needs to be sent to the implementation committee to discuss the cost and logistics to get the program going for 2022.
Thank you. I would support that.
So I will call the vote on this motion that we've just read, and that was to cancel the program for 2022. And all those in favor of the motion to cancel the program?
No hands, Madam
What
Mayor.
hands are up?
None.
Okay. So those voting against the motion?
Everybody.
Yeah, we've got one,
Okay.
2, 3, 4. Sherry, I don't think she's got her hand. Yeah, everyone except Cindy Kelsey. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm in favor with everyone else.
Okay, so you've got it.
Okay.
Everyone voted, Madam Mayor.
Okay, and I certainly am in favor of defeating it as well. So motion is defeated. Now, I'm going to read an optional motion to consider, and it's moved by Brent Cameron and seconded by Bill McDonald. Whereas Council passed bylaw 2018-49, amended by bylaw 2020-04, to establish a mandatory sewage reinspection program. And whereas the program ran for 1 year before COVID-19 pandemic hit, and the program was postponed in 2020 and 2021 as a result. And whereas significant procedural issues were encountered the first year of the program, which have not yet been resolved. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Council received the septic inspection program report as prepared by the Manager of Development Services /CBO, dated November the 9th, 2021 for information. And further, that the Septic Implementation Committee meet to discuss the costs and logistics of the program for 2022 and recommend amendments to Schedule B to the bylaw to address the issues identified in this report. Discussion, does that suit what the discussion was?
Yes. Yes.
Should we be putting a time frame on the on when the Septic Implementation Committee can report back to us?
I think it's got to report sooner than later.
Exactly. So should that be in the motion?
It can be.
Well, or
issues
perhaps it's
identified.
not necessary. Perhaps I think the members of the committee understand the urgency. And
Yes.
Yes.
so yeah, no, I'm fine with it not being in there.
Yeah, and the chair
Okay.
can call that meeting.
And who are the members of that committee, Kathy?
There's Bill, Tom, and Victor, I believe. Let me just look.
No, I wasn't on that committee.
No.
That's the
No, you're right.
implementation committee. It's Brent,
Yes.
Sherry, and Philip.
No, it's actually, yes, that's correct. So it's Tom, Bill, and Fran are on the Septic Implementation Committee.
Oh, Victor, I think you're thinking about the Affordability Committee, the one that was coming up with the plan for an affordability for low-income families. That's the one that
Yeah.
Sherry and I were in.
Yes, correct. So
Yeah,
the Septic
I-
Implementation Committee is Bill, Tom, and Fran.
Okay, thank you. I stand corrected.
Okay, and we will be having a meeting as soon as possible. Okay. Any further discussion?
Did they
All
vote on
those in
the?
favor of the motion?
Sure.
Oh, sorry,
No, go ahead, Madam Mayor.
were there
You got
any?
everybody?
No
Yeah,
hands up?
everybody has approved it.
Okay, motion carried.
Sorry about the delay. Back and forth.
I just have to get better internet service. All right, that is it for development services. So we are at Public Works.
Thanks,
I
everyone.
have a motion. Thanks, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
Moved
Thanks, Ed.
Moved by Nikki Gowdy and seconded by Cindy Kelsey, that council received the Public Works Activity Report as prepared by the Public Works Manager dated November the 9th, 2021 for information. Any discussion on the activity report? Hearing none. All those in favor? Hands are up, Kathy.
Yes, they are all.
Motion's carried. Okay. Next, we have the COVID-19 draft vaccination policy. Moved by Tom Dewey and seconded by Victor Hayes, whereas Kingston, Frontenac, Langston, Eddington Public Health calls upon local organizations to implement a vaccination policy that encourages all staff be fully vaccinated against COVID-19 with proof of vaccination or related medical exemption. And whereas the Frontenac CAOs discussed the option of a consistent policy across the Frontenac, and whereas the CAO clerk has prepared a draft policy after reviewing a number of policies which vary from one municipality to another. And whereas legal counsel suggested a number of revisions which have now been incorporated for council's review. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council review the draft vaccination policy and provide feedback to the CAO clerk prior to a final policy coming forth for approval later on November 23rd, 2021. Discussion.
Nikki? Madam Mayor?
Go ahead, Nikki.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question is in regards to section 5, the antigen testing. It says at a frequency of not less than a week. Should we not be putting a frequency of what we require in there? The majority are 2 to 3 times, depending on which ministry you follow. So that was my question.
Okay, Madam, I'll just take a look here quickly. I know that the lawyer, like I said, has reviewed all this and certainly made those. Okay, yeah, we said at frequency at not less of, or we can just put in that they have to have it done at least once a week. Is that what you're looking for?
Well, yeah, the majority that I've seen out there say 2 to 3 times a week, they have to do the testing.
Right.
Depending on which ministry. If you're under the Ministry of Health, it's not less than 2. If you're under the Ministry of Ed, it's 3 times a week.
Okay, so that's what this is for council to decide for if you want once a week, twice a week, whatever, for sure.
Okay.
Are we thinking that once a week is enough?
No.
No, Nikki's suggesting 2 or 3 times a week.
If I may,
That-
through
that-
Madam Mayor, I know the federal
Go ahead.
government's doing twice a week. Did you hear my response?
Would it be good to say Monday and Wednesday if we were doing twice? Or if we're doing once, it has to be every Monday, or pick a day. Although I guess that depends on whether or not the tests are available. What's your favor, folks?
I think at least 2 times a week.
Yeah, I would agree.
I
2
agree.
times a
I
week.
agree. I think twice.
Yeah, twice a week, like a Monday and Wednesday kind of thing. And it would be at the expense of the employee.
Correct. It
Yeah.
is.
And can I just jump in here? Sorry to
Sure.
interrupt like this. It's not clear in here how these tests are to be administered. Are they self-administered and self-reported? Or do they have to go to some kind of a testing site? Now, I know that Shoppers Drug Mart does this and have sort of like an official test result, even though it is a rapid test. They would have to show some sort of official test result. It's not clear in the policy.
Well, from what I understand, the antigen testing is not the rapid testing. So if you were having rapid testing, I think that this is the antigen testing is those folks have to go out like to Shoppers Drug Mart to have that done. If we were requiring that they have the rapid test, we would put rapid testing in, which then that's self, process through. So that's my understanding, but I can certainly have that clarified.
Okay,
Madam Mayor, Bill here.
go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, I'm looking at this, and most of the questions I had on the first copy that came out here have been answered in the second copy. But I'm just wondering how we're going to enforce, for example, let's say we put out a request for proposal in regard to rebuilding a section of road where they have the contractor comes in and has all his own employees. How are we going to enforce this this type of policy in regard to someone who might be running a bulldozer out on a job site? Maybe Kathy could answer that question, or maybe she doesn't know at this point.
I think what would happen is the project manager that is looking after that program, that construction project, because it does talk about all new external contractor agreements. So the agreement that we would have with a contractor is going to have reference to this policy, and we're going to have them provide to us an attestation that their folks and confirmation that they've been vaccinated, their workers.
Okay, and if I may follow up, Madam Mayor, is how does this policy that we're looking at in regard to, say, all of the municipalities in the neighboring counties, for example, Lennox, Addington, Leeds, and Grenville, how similar are the ones they're going to adopt? How similar are they going to be?
And the thing is when we were talking about this is the same. Some are doing actual mandatory. There is no, this is where, it's a different and a difficult situation to put in a policy, and certainly look at other policies because they vary very, very widely. It depends on what each of the municipalities, but I know the one at Leeds in, I think it's Leeds in Granville, where I think Lennox and Addington, sorry, they have put one in, but it's all mandatory. So they also have the availability that they do the testing themselves for their employees.
Oh,
So they pay for it. They have it all. They have all the testing. So in this one, I received some samples too from our legal counsel, as well as a few other ones from other municipalities. And I know North Frontenac Township is also looking at this, and South Frontenac, which I have shared our draft as well with them. And I think each of us are trying to bring as much information we can to councils to make that decision. But they may vary, Bill. That's the, and I don't know if we're all going to get to be exactly the same policy, because it depends on how each of them are viewing it at this point.
if I may follow up, the point I'm trying to make here is what you're going to get is you get people who object to it or whatever, say, well, I didn't have to do that over here. I didn't have to do that. Why are you demanding that? So as similar as they can be would probably benefit everybody.
Yes, and I expect they will be. And Madam Mayor, Brent would like to speak.
Okay, go ahead, Brent.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. It's just a quick question because I'm looking at 7.1 and we are talking about, if we proceed having this in place after December 3rd, I understand that any RFPs that are issued from that point going forward would be covered, but we have existing contracts with a number of entities, companies, individuals. So I'm just wondering, for those existing contracts, what's our approach with them?
Now that I have not considered that, so I will certainly consider that with our legal counsel as to what the other policies, because they've been doing, as well as Savino, which is the HR Live company that we deal with. They all have policies as well, and have certainly been speaking on the policy. So I'll find out what they are doing with existing contractors.
But certainly most businesses now are demanding of their employees to be vaccinated and to have proof, especially if they're going into areas where there's other members of the public. They don't want to be held liable for anything either. So I guess we'll have to ask all of our contractors if they can show proof of vaccination for their workers.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with KFLA area now being the worst one in Ontario at the moment, I think that we have to move forward quickly with this.
Yeah, and certainly public health. The board had also passed a resolution encouraging all of us in the KFLNA region to put policies into place.
Okay.
Okay, any other comments on the draft? That's some good stuff, and Kathy will take those into consideration and bring that.
Mayor Smith, Victor had his hand up.
Oh,
Sorry.
Victor had his hand up. I was writing. Sorry, Madam Mayor.
Just
Sorry, go ahead,
one quick
Victor.
detail in section 6.2, talking about those who are unvaccinated may be required to adhere to additional and will be prohibited from attending in-person conferences, training sessions, or other events. Should we also include something in there that they would not be allowed to handle in-person meetings with our residents?
That's a good idea.
It's not specifically stated in there, but I think we need to be protecting our residents as well.
For sure. No, that sounds, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so if there are no other comments, back to the motion, which is to bring the final policy forth in November. All those in favor?
They've all voted, Madam Mayor.
Okay, motion's carried. Right. Next, we have motion moved by Cindy Kelsey and seconded by Tom Dewey that council receive for information the minutes from the EOTA board meeting held September the 9th, 2021 for information. Any discussion? All those in favor?
All done, all,
Hands up, Kathy?
yes, they did. All are in, all on,
Okay, motion's carried.
all on
Moved
deck,
by
I
Sherry
guess.
Wan. Okay, moved by Sherry Wan and seconded by Bill McDonald that council received the minutes of the September 21st, 2021 Central Frontenac Trails Revitalization Committee for information. Any discussion? All those in favor?
All approved, Madam Mayor.
Okay, motion's carried. All right, we have a motion moved by Nikki Gowdy, seconded by Victor Hayes, that council received the Quinte Conservation Source Protection Authority minutes from April 21st, 2021, and the Quinte Conservation Authority Board meeting minutes from September the 21st, 2021 for information. Any discussion? All those in favor?
All hands are up,
Hands
Madam
are
Mayor.
up.
Yes,
Motion carried. Okay. All right. There are no delegations or presentations.
no, there is not.
Okay. I have a motion moved by Tom Dewey and seconded by Brent Cameron that council received a request from Courageous Companions, an extraordinary organization which provides certified service dogs to military veterans and first responders who suffer with physical and/or psychological injuries as a result of their service. And further, that staff are recommending to council that we place a business card ad in their upcoming annual edition of Courageous K9 publication in the amount of $295 plus HST, which supports their efforts in its mission to help military veterans and first responders. Now, therefore, be it resolved that council approve the recommendation of staff and place a business card ad in Courageous K9 publication in the amount of $295 plus HST. Any discussion on that? Sounds like a good cause.
Just a quick question. Did we do this last year?
No, this is the first request.
It's a great organization. I fully support it. I just wondered if we have to be concerned here about setting a precedent on some of these organizations that are looking for money.
I think what council has done in past, I think, is look at everyone on its own merit and what they represent. And I think with this, what I had read on the information, that they do not charge for the dogs and for those folks. So I think they get all their money by folks supporting this publication, and that's how they survive with that organization.
I mean, they are a good organization, and it's definitely a worthwhile cause. So I would support it.
Because that was the
Okay.
first I heard about it.
Okay, any other questions or comments on this motion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Hands are up, Madam Mayor.
Okay, motion's carried. Okay. Motion moved by Cindy Kelsey and seconded by Sherry Wan that council receive the following correspondence for information, and it's 1 and 2 in our list. Any discussion on those? All those in favor?
Hands are up, Madam Mayor.
Motion's carried. Okay, there's no public meetings, no bylaws. Any notice of motion?
None.
Any giving of notice of motion?
No.
Any new or other business?
No, there's not.
Okay, we do have a closed session motion, moved by Brent Cameron and seconded by Bill McDonald, that council move into closed session pursuant to section 239(2) of the Municipal Act to discuss the following. Number one, labor relations or employee negotiations, section 239(2)(b. Number two, personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees, section 239(2)(b. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Hands are all up, Madam Mayor.
Okay, motion's carried.
So we're
I will
going
see if
to
my
leave
internet-
this meeting.
Yes, you can leave this meeting, and the link for the closed session was sent out just before this one, so you can log in via that. And then once we go back into open session, I will live stream it from there. from
Okay,
that meeting.
okay.
I will see if I have any internet yet.